So I've learned that launching a new product, like a startup, inside a billion-dollar company has some challenges. In fact, you can kind of think of it like driving a car in first gear. You can really rev the RPMs, there's a lot of activity, but you're not really going that fast, you're burning a lot of fuel, and it's not very efficient. So what I hope to do today is to share with you some of the things that we've learned in going through this process of launching this new product. And I hope to help you out in what you're doing when you go back to your job. Now, one of the things that I think is happening and affecting all of us as product marketing people is that there's actually shifts in how we're going to market with products. First of all, products are becoming much faster, or the pace of product launches is becoming much more rapid. I looked for some quotes and I found some good ones here. This is from Forbes saying that today it's closer to 3 weeks for products to update. And I heard that earlier with someone else in their presentation. Our product launch is 4 weeks right now, or every 4 weeks we have a new release and a new update. Years ago, this would be 6 months, maybe a year, maybe even longer. The second part, you can see at the bottom, it talks about mergers and acquisitions. And today there's a rapid pace. We saw earlier in the competitive presentation, there was many acquisitions. And I talked to someone at lunch who had 2 acquisitions just recently at their company. So maybe today you're not in the situation that I'm going to describe in my presentation, but either through advanced and rapid product development and release, or through merger and acquisition, you might find yourself in the situation that I'll describe. And at that point, you'll say, wait a minute, that guy at that conference said something that was really important. What was that? So hopefully I can help you out. So to begin, let me just put a picture here of what I mean when I talk about a billion-dollar company or an enterprise-level company. And it's a little different from a small startup company. Small startup company, you make a change to what you're doing with marketing or messaging. You can look across the table, you can talk to the people, you can make an update, and you can move on. Here, we're talking about an existing infrastructure that takes place. And one of the things that I want you to keep in mind with this infrastructure is that, like other companies, where 60 to 70% of your new selling comes into or goes to existing customers, with a billion-dollar enterprise company, that's very true. We have existing customers. In some cases, our top 20% of our customers might account for a large majority of our revenue. And when you have a situation like this, you're still obviously going out and looking for new customers and you're looking for new logos, but there's some infrastructure and processes in place that you must adhere to and you must think about. And that's what we're going to take a look at when we go through these things. So what I'd like you to consider today is, how do you go about launching a new product within your existing culture? And again, how would you think about this if you happen to find yourself in a new company through merger and acquisition, or perhaps you switch jobs and go into a larger company? So I'm going to focus in on 3 areas and give you 3 insights, and then hopefully give you some 9 lessons learned that you can walk away with. All right, so first, before we go there, what is my company and what do we do? So my company is PTC. And we have we sell software to industrial companies. So what is an industrial company? Industrial company is somebody who makes something. So at home you have a dishwasher, or you have a microwave, or you drive your car, or out in the farm there's a tractor. Those are industrial type products. They have to be designed, they have to be brought to fruition, they have to be built, and then they have to be sold. Those companies, so John Deere or Airbus, those Toyota, those type of companies are ones that we sell our products to. And this is our nice building here in Boston, in the Seaport. If you ever come there, please stop by and visit. Seaport's up and coming in Boston. I think the average new apartment price there just went over $1 million, so yes. Now, what are we working on here at PTC? Well, we're working on augmented reality. And some people consider this the 4th platform wave when it comes to communicating product information, or just information in general. So you might say, what are the first 3 waves? The first one was PC, so just personal computer. Second platform wave, many people consider to be mobile. So we got on our phones, we can move around. Third platform wave was social. So now you're starting to collaborate and talk to folks. And then the fourth platform wave, people believe is going to be augmented and mixed reality. Now you might say, well, why is that so important? Well, we believe that augmented reality is going to fundamentally change the way we communicate product information. So today, I mentioned if you buy something at home, you buy a vacuum cleaner or a dishwasher, what comes in the box with the vacuum cleaner or the dishwasher? The manual. That's right. You open the box, you take out the whatever it is, and then up comes this manual. And what do you do with that manual? You throw it away. That's exactly right. That's what 90% of the people tell me. You throw that away. And then what happens about 8 months later when the thing breaks down? Like, damn, I threw away the manual. So you go exactly what you do. You go to Google and you hope you typed in the right number and you hope you typed in the right information. So imagine instead that you could take out your phone and you could point it at your refrigerator and it would start to light up and tell you all the information about your refrigerator and how to fix it and change the air filter. That's communicating information about that object, about that product. And that's where we're going. Now it gets even more interesting because as you can see in my picture here, today when you design a product, it comes with some sort of interface, buttons, numbers, knobs. We can actually control devices through augmented reality now, so we don't need the interface. So in the future, you might have products that are designed more for fit and function rather than having to worry about how the operator interfaces with it. Instead, you can put on glasses and you can see your interface to your devices. And you might say, hey, that seems a little far in the future, but if we talked to people 15 years ago about carrying this around in your pocket all day, every day, they'd say you're crazy. So that's where we're going. So this is why it's so exciting to us, fundamentally changing the way we're communicating product information. So how did we get this technology? Well, my company, we bought it. It was a merger and acquisition. We brought that technology in. We bought it in November. In December, we put the team together. And in January, we met in Blaine, Minnesota, because we said, what's colder than Chicago? And we determined it was Blaine, Minnesota. Actually, we have an office there. And we sat down and we started thinking about the product and how we launched the product. So I want to go through 3 areas with you. I kind of broke them down into general areas just on purpose here, but first area is thinking about the market. So this again would be your buyer, your target audience, the product, things that go into normal general terms. Channel, I'm really talking about how we sell the product. And then positioning encompasses brand, messaging, all that material. And so I broke the scorecard down into early, which is in the first year, year and a half, and then now, which is the last year, year and a half. And so what did we do early? Well, it gave us some grades. Now, if my colleagues saw these grades, they might say, hey, that's a little harsh there, Matt. But I think this is accurate on how we were able to bring this product out to market. Now, I don't want you to think these are bad. We actually did well. We met our plan. We're selling the product. We're actually doing very well. We're selling more and more. Customers are really embracing it. So these grades are not about the results. These grades are about product marketing and some of the things that everybody in this room has to deal with. So let me go through these 3 areas and I'll tell you some of the insights. Okay, the first area is, I call it market, but I basically, again, who are we selling to and who are we talking about? And what's the difference maybe between a startup, again, and this billion-dollar company? So the graphic I have on the screen here, hopefully everybody recognizes it, but if not, this is the technology lifecycle curve. So this is Jeffrey Moore and his book, Crossing the Chasm. And in that book, he talks about what it takes to bring a technology company to market. And he really talked about it back in the dot-com era. But if you haven't read that book, it's worth a read because he talks a lot about what some of the challenges are in bringing a technology company to market. And in the book, he has this famous technology lifecycle curve. And at the beginning of the curve are the people who, when you have new technology, you want to get it in their hands. These are the innovators. These are the visionaries. These are the early adopters. And the innovators are people who love technology. And in the book, he talks about when the first home computer came out, it actually showed up in a kit. You had to assemble it yourself. Yet there were tons of people lining up to get this kit to assemble it themselves. They're the innovators. They want their hands on the technology. The early adopters, in every company that you go to, there's somebody who's driving some sort of transformation. They want their business to get better. And usually they have money. They have access to some budget. So they're willing to buy early versions of products and get it in the hands of their customers. Now, they don't stay very long. You hear people like, oh, I'm on my 9th startup, because they are constantly trying to turn the wheel and move it forward. So this is the beginning part of the curve. Then there's the chasm, which is in the book talks about the challenge from going from early adoption to actually into mainstream, everyday majority people who are going to use the product day in and day out. And this is where you get your revenue, and this is where you start to make margin, and this is where you start to get some higher sales. Well, over here, there's a totally different buyer. This person is a pragmatist. This person is somebody who cares about the bottom line. They run the business day in and day out. They have to keep the lights on. They care about the actual operating cost down to the dollar. So you have a different criteria when you're selling to that group. You have to have a lot of references. You have to have a lot of proof points. You have to make sure that you understand their complete situation. And so when you run a startup, you're really over here, which is great. But when you're selling into this realm of an established business, it gets a little challenging. And when you have an established company, our sales reps, which we have a direct sales force, they have spent a lot of time building relationships with the folks in the red circle. And they have staked their relationship on delivering results to the folks in the red circle. So now you take a new technology, which is over here. This is a totally different set of people you're talking to. And what we learned is we needed to really think about both groups almost simultaneously. We started over here and instead had to move later into this red circle. So my first lesson learned is you might want to make a two-phase plan. If you're dealing with a sales force who's established B2B sales practices and has relationships, but you're coming out with a new product, you still want to get mind share, you still want to get excitement, but you got to think about how that sales rep is actually talking to the product. The second lesson learned here is value selling. So one of the things that we did at the beginning with our new product is we ran a beta program and we got lots of feedback. And with a hot technology like augmented reality, we had no problem getting beta customers. In fact, we said we would cap the beta program at 12 customers. And then we went off and looked for it. And then every rep came out of the woodwork from around the globe and said, no, you don't understand. My customer's like super critical. You got to get them in this beta program. So then we recapped it at 24. And then we recapped it again at 40. And then finally we said, we're done. So we had 40 beta customers, which to me is a little bit too many. But anyway, we had 40 beta customers directly giving us feedback into product management, product marketing. And the whole time they were telling us about this feature and what they needed and how they were thinking about it. So that's really important. Then we launched the product. We went out into the world, no problem getting meetings. No problem going in to have people invite us in to talk about it. Everybody wanted to see augmented reality. It's fun, you put it on the ground. But then we said, great, how are we doing on the deals? And they said, well, they haven't bought it yet. They haven't figured out how to connect the dots. And so we realized, and we went back and had to reprogram ourselves to really define the value that we were bringing with this particular product. Especially because it was such a visual, fun product. People were getting wrapped up in that and they weren't connecting the dots down into the value that took place. And then also was a valuable lesson. If I had to go back and do the beta program again, I'd say you want to do a beta not just for product, but a beta for value. Can you actually understand the value that that customer is asking? And when I'm talking about value, I'm talking about dollars. Dollars to their customer. So if someone says to you, hey, we really need that feature, that's great. Tell me why you need the feature. And if they just say, well, I need that feature because my users want that feature, that's also good, but then go one step further. What does that actually mean to your business? Is it less cost, less training, less waste? If you can't connect that dot, then putting a feature in there might not be valuable. So beta the product, definitely, but think about the value. Okay, and then the last item is keeping an eye on the whole product. So again, when you get from here, or here in this part of the life cycle curve, you can have some holes in the product. It's okay, because these folks here, they're willing to assemble the kit, assemble the PC. They're willing to put on some of the heavy lifting that takes place. But when you get over here, you better make sure you have all the pieces lined up. And it's not like we didn't have the pieces, but we just didn't have the pieces in a way that the sales force could easily get to them very quickly and turn around and deliver that. Okay, second area, so that was 3. Second area of 3 is the channel. So this was how we were selling it. And the first thing that happens inside an enterprise company is you have lots of channels. So we had direct sales force and a high value sales force and a velocity sales force and a partner sales force. We had all sorts of ways and methods, resellers, to get the product out there. And again, with a very hot technology, everybody wanted to have access to it. So immediately we said, yeah, this is great. You know, we want to generate interest and mind share. We want to get the product out there in the world. So we really didn't stop anybody from going out and doing this. And what we found is that, again, they're talking to different people and different buyers in different places, as you would expect. And immediately we started getting some feedback. And so I had a person who went to Europe, went to one of our resellers, and he was literally explaining to me that I don't understand the market after we just spent a year researching everything, because he couldn't sell because we had put the product at a price point that didn't match his customers. And in reality, we had researched and come up with a price point that we felt was very conservative. But our channel force wasn't touching those customers. So in reality, we said it might not have been the best to just open this up and hope that people understand the difference. We should have thought about specifically which sales force should be touching this product at which time. And sometimes the answer is no. So again, that might not be a challenge if you only have one direct sales force or if you're going directly to a customer, but it's something to consider. The second item in channels is pricing alignment. So we said we have a great new product. We should price it in a way that reflects this great new product. So we went out and came up with a new pricing methodology. It was forward-thinking for us, and it was forward-thinking for our customers. And what we found is we spent more time answering questions about pricing than we did actually going about talking about the value in the product. And so then we decided we should go and do a lot of research on this. So we went and talked to third-party folks. I went to a pricing seminar, and in there I heard from a person from Dell who had similar pricing to what we had. And he spent 30 minutes explaining how they came up with all this new pricing. And at the end, one of the challenges we had was there was unpredictability built in. So a customer might buy the product, and then a year later, they might not know exactly how much they needed or how much consumption they had. And so this person at Dell went through this whole process, and at the end, I raised my hand sitting in the audience like you guys are, and I said, how did you handle that unpredictability? And he said, that's what we're working on. We haven't figured it out yet. And I said, great, so we're right there together. So what we learned is that you can't just go and take what's an existing model, and if you're going to go to your customers with new information, it requires education, it requires time, it will lengthen the sales cycle time. So we went back and we redid that and worked on putting pricing in line with the way our customers expect to buy it. And then the last one there is when you have a established sales force, that established sales force has a quota. So inside of a larger enterprise business, a quota is probably, let's give us a number here, I'll make up one, but maybe it's like $1.8 million or something like that in terms of product that you're supposed to sell for the year. If you come out with a new product and the new product is priced at a level that it's supposed to be mind share and entry, so you put it at a low price point, you lose mind share potentially with your sales force. Because if I have a $1.8 million quota and I'm selling a $30,000 product, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I'm going to spend time on deals that are hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to my quota. So again, back to that 2 points of that adoption curve, that life cycle. We wanted mind share, so we priced it low, but we had a sales force who was trying to sell at a high quota. So what ended up happening? Well, what ended up happening is super hot technology, like I said. And so the sales force would still go in, they would still have deals, but the customer would say, hey, you know what, that really super hot technology you have, give me some of that too. And the rep would put it on the quote, say, okay, great, we'll give you some augmented reality on the quote. And so one of my colleagues termed the phrase, it's like, would you like some fries with that? Then you go into McDonald's, give me a Happy Meal, throw some fries in there. Now that's great, but that actually was messing up in terms of what we were seeing as an impact in launching the product, because now we were seeing deals roll through, but they weren't actual deals that were connected to value within the customer. They were deals that were showing up because the sales force was able to put some additional money with it. Okay, the third part is positioning, and here I gave us an A- because what I can say is that with a new technology that's a very hot technology, we had no problem, as I mentioned, getting people to think about it. In fact, the entire company was very excited about it. We had our HR department doing AR scavenger hunts. We had our CEO, who's a super visionary guy, email our entire company and say, here, try this product out. We had the sales reps doing it on their own, people who would not normally touch technology, going into customers, showing customers how it worked. So we had no problem gaining mindshare. We had lots of analysts who wanted to come write about it and talk about it. Again, it bolstered their position. There was a super hot technology. They came and got the information from us. So creating mindshare when everybody is involved was extremely valuable and helped us continue to push this out into the world. The second thing that came out of this was a strong vision drives customer connection. So the story I told you about throwing away the manual, when we brought that to our customers, they all saw that vision and they all wanted the vision. And we haven't wavered from that. So even though we've adjusted and moved other things around over the past 2 years, we've never wavered from the vision. I think if you stick by the vision, and we saw earlier like the brand OS, if you stick by your vision and who you are, then you can move the other pieces around and still be successful. And then the last thing we learned is that when you have a new technology, you have to spend a lot of time educating the market. And some of our sales enablement started with selling, and then we turned it a little bit more to how do you educate, and then we turned it a little bit more to, again, how do you educate and connect to value. And so there has to be some sort of market maturity in there. And in this case, it took a little bit of time, but now we're seeing customers coming to us and telling us that they want to participate in this technology. So if we go back to our scorecard here, this is what happened to us in the beginning. We had no problem with activities, no problem with leads. You'd look at our funnel and our pipeline, you'd say, wow, that was amazing. You guys are doing great. A lot of leads going through the funnel, a lot of MQLs, SALs, SQLs. But at the end, if you looked, we said for all of that activity, we should have more deals. And we didn't. And part of it was because everybody was really interested, but they weren't sure what to do. And then the other thing we saw was the deal size didn't go up because people were just buying just enough to try. So, let me try it. Let me try it. But they weren't connecting it into their business, so they weren't increasing the number of deals. Plus, our pricing, as I mentioned, was a little complicated. So people were like, let me just take what I can at the moment and I'll come back later. So as a result, our RPMs were high. Lots of activity, lots of things happening, but we weren't getting necessarily the results that we were looking for. So what did we do? Well, we went in and we made some changes. And today, I give us a much better grade. So B plus, B, and an A on these 3 areas. And how did we do that? Well, what we did was first, we went into these different areas and we changed a few items. In market, we developed a comprehensive business plan. So we had a leader come from outside our company, and she asked us to sit down and form a more comprehensive plan. So the plan being that early part, but also the later part. We spent a lot of time focused on value selling. So again, connecting those dots. I would go to customers with our sales reps, to customers who had already bought our product. And we'd sit down with the sales rep and the customer. And the customer would look over at me and say, "We love your technology. It's fantastic." And I'd be like, "Great. Can you help sell my boss that we should turn it on?" And at that point, we realized there was a disconnect between what the customer thought the product should be doing and what it should be doing. So we spent a lot of time helping connect the dots between here's what the functionality does and here's why it's valuable to your business. We went back for our channels, and I said we focused. We went into the people who we feel could actually achieve results. And even though it was technology everybody wanted to touch, we kind of backed that off. We also made sure that we gave the sales reps a complete understanding of the coverage that they needed and also what they needed to deliver to the customer itself. And then with positioning, we stayed with a consistent vision. As I mentioned, we have a very strong vision in our company about fundamentally changing the way we communicate product information. We have a very strong CEO in terms of driving that vision. I think, again, if you're going to change something, change other items, but don't change the core vision. That will certainly help people stay on track. And then the last is we continued our focus. So unlike other areas where perhaps we tried something and moved away, we kept at it and kept adjusting and kept moving forward until we delivered something that was of value. So today, it's a much better scorecard. We still have tremendous activity. We still are driving a lot of leads. Our deals continue to go up, but they go up more relative to what we would expect versus the activity in the leads. And our deal size has also gone up as we continue to adjust both the pricing and how we sell, focusing in on that value selling. So 3 areas: market, channel, position. Talked about 3 items in each one of those areas. And I really want to emphasize the difference between a startup where everything is really new in the technology and being inside an environment where you have established processes and established sales force. And whether or not today you're there, you might be there tomorrow if somebody acquires your company. You might be there tomorrow if you acquire a company and now become responsible for that group. And you might be there just because your product is evolving so quickly that 6 months from now you change it up again, and now your sales force is that much more mature and you have to work with them. So I hope that some of the things I discussed here today will help you out, and in the end that your RPM is a little lower and you're running a little more effective. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Matt. Do we have our next speaker teed up? Oh, yeah, Brandon's there. Okay. We'll have to move on, but look out for Matt at the happy hour and ask.